anxietycenter.com.
Jim, Mr. Folk?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I do. I was waiting to see if anybody else was going to respond. I don't want to just, jump in on somebody else's. Just kind of like to be the last one.
Yes, sir. Yep.
But a lot of the things you've already said seem to make a lot of sense. I've been a member of Anxiety Center for years. But my problem now, or in the last, year, 2 years, probably longer, is the symptom of dizziness. Now, I've had anxiety disorder and panic disorder since I was 9 years old. It started with a horrible childhood after that, basically just raising myself, taking care of it was just a very unbalanced childhood. And my father had mental problems and anxiety and depression from the war. And so I had lived with that. But I've had all kinds of symptoms, basically the same kind of symptoms through the years, on and off. And this symptom popped up probably about maybe 5 years ago, but it was so gradual. But there was so much stress going on at the time in my life, taking care of 2 elderly in-laws, moving them 3 times, my husband having to help him, and then moving into a nursing home. Then I was up there every day. And and then after they passed away in the nursing home, then I moved my mom down into the nursing home, and she's 93 now, and I'm like her sole person that takes care of her. So it's and on top of a job that was very stressful. I worked with special ed kids at the school district for 21 years. So very, very stressful at all that time. And I could feel something wasn't right because I was just in constant nervousness and tension. And I know I was probably in hyperstimulation all that time. I think it just took a number on my nervous system is what it did. And it finally just, when COVID hit last year, it kind of just said, I've had enough. And so, the 24/7 dizziness came. And so I think, it's like I've had other symptoms. Like I used to suffer with heart palps and stuff. And then I went down the rabbit hole with all that. You know how you do.
Yeah.
And it seemed like whenever I just stopped, the doctor told me everything's okay. When I literally told myself, hey, you know what? This ain't going to kill me. It's anxiety. I know that. And so when I stopped fearing that symptom, it literally went away. And it was a pretty big symptom for me. And it literally went away. But this symptom here is very hard to deal with. I mean, you were talking about building confidence. And I know that does work. Because the more you tell yourself, that, it's only anxiety, and then you don't have it for a while. But this symptom I know you're familiar with, and you're probably tired of hearing people talk about it. But because I know it hits like 80% people that have, anxiety issues and stuff. But it's I would trade it for anything. Give me back my heart palps, whatever. But this symptom is just like you can't build your confidence if you've got it every time you get up and walk,
Yeah.
So it's like. And then I think I went down the rabbit hole. I probably did the wrong thing because then I started searching. I started going to the Dizzy Center, doing vestibular therapy and having these tests done and MRIs, nothing. And then I went to a neurologist who specializes in, dizziness. And of course, he's going to label me with everything, vestibular migraines, PPPD, MDDS, central vertigo, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, where do I go from here with that? Because in my heart, I really know what it is. But now I'm gone down this rabbit hole with him. And, you don't want vestibular migraines because it's really conflicting because it could be foods. It could be weather. It could be, anything. Your clothes are too tight. I mean, it's just craziness.
Yeah.
And so that fear sets in. And what that other guy was talking about, having the fear of never getting well. Well, this is one symptom that really scares you with that. You feel like you're going to be debilitated and you're going to end up in a wheelchair. And right now I'm working with your therapist, Chris, and he is working with me on all those, core fears and and I think I know what my core fear is. Basically, it's you've mentioned it before. It's the fear of being debilitated and not ever getting well. And probably about 98% of people that call on here have that main fear that they're not going to get well.
Yeah.
So my question, is like, what do I do about this main symptom? What do I do about these catastrophic thinking? They come, I do contain them, but then they come back, and they're just so scary. I mean, you become fearful of the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start concentrating on that symptom when you really should be concentrating on the anxiety and the behavior part of it.
Yeah.
I keep telling myself, okay, so if I'm not getting any answers, I'm doing vestibular therapy for a year, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm taking all these vitamins they tell you to take for vestibular migraines, which I don't think I have.
Yeah.
It's like, what do where do you go from there? It's just, I don't know. And I've been under so much stress lately with so many things going on in the past year. It's just been really bad. Having a house built, a lot of emotional things. We've lost a lot of friends the last year. My husband's retiring from his job. That was very emotional for him. And I'm a very sensitive person anyway. I'm a big empath. And I noticed that when I was going to the nursing home every day and volunteering and helping up there, I felt like this is what God wanted me to do. But at the same time, I think it just made things worse emotionally. I think I was kind of unable to handle a lot of stuff I was seeing, but at the same time, I had to be up there taking care of my mom. It's just a lot of sadness. And I noticed I was getting the symptoms kind of worse then, but it really hit me when COVID hit, and then the symptoms got really bad.
Yep.
And I started working on some of your stuff. I started working on that, on relaxing the nervous system, and which was easier then because I wasn't able to go up to the nursing home, so I was able to kind of calm my system down, and I felt myself getting a little bit better actually. But then all of a sudden, it just blew up. It got worse, and I can't seem to get back to baseline.
Sure.
It's pretty frightening. I just,
Yeah.
I don't know what do you suggest? I know you suggest a lot.
I have a couple of questions. 0 to 100%, 100% being maximum, 0 being not at all. How much do you fear not getting well?
Oh, it's probably, Chris just asked me that too, about almost 100%. Yeah, it's one of my biggies.
Okay. Well, you're in good hands with Chris. Yeah. How have you been working with him for a while?
Since August.
Okay, so just getting going here. Okay.
I've been fighting it for several years with your therapist wanting to do it, then afraid to do it. Anxiety keeps you from doing things too. You get scared to call people,
it does.
And just set things up and do things. You know how that is. Your mind is just constant, and you're scared. But yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. On a scale of 0 to 100%, 100% being maximum, 0 being nothing, where would you rate your stress now?
My stress now, probably. You mean everything that's going on in my life?
Mm-hmm.
Probably at a 90.
Yeah.
Right now, it's been really, and I've written all that down just to remind myself. Look, you're going through all the stuff the past year.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yep. Exactly. Okay, so I understand. Thanks for all the information you give me. That that makes a lot of sense. And as you mentioned, our childhood really does set us up to be anxious people, and the body can cope for a while, but then when we keep pushing it lets us know. And symptoms are the way it does it, and symptoms can change over the course of time. Just because they have one symptom set, maybe for months or years, doesn't mean that's the only one we're going to get.
And I thought that wasn't true because I'm a big Clara Weeks person, and she says, once your symptoms are set, they're set, and blah, blah, blah. But then that kind of freaked me out, thinking, oh, my God, I've never had this symptom, but it's been coming on gradual for the last few years, very gradual.
And I'd say it's likely because your stress has probably been more elevated recently than it has been. And dizziness is just one of those nasty symptoms that it does upset the apple cart a lot of times because it's tampering with your equilibrium. And then we have the body's natural emergency system engaged when it thinks it's falling or thinks it's out of place. So we have the involuntary stress responses in response to major dizzy spells that we then have to calm ourselves down to. So might not even have been triggered by anything other than the body doing itself and then us responding to it. So there's a lot of ways that symptom can really be annoying. And it does persist. Once it locks in, it just seems, like it affects your equilibrium for a long time. Now,
you just don't get a break. I mean, if you don't get a break from it, it's like, oh my God, please just throw me a bone here. Just give me a break so I could know that I'm getting better. But the only break I have is when I'm in a car or laying down or, but that's it,
Yeah. And that's the thing is when dizziness kicks in, it usually doesn't give us breaks because it's, again, usually there's two things that can cause it. One is chronic stress, when the body's just chronically stressed, and it sounds like that's what's happening with you. All the things you've dealt with, especially dealing with loved ones and elder care and parents. We just actually went through that recently with my parents and my wife's parents. So it is taxing, it's draining, and sure, you can do stress management, but you're still on call. There's still the emotions going on. There's still trying to look at. So there's a lot of stress just in that alone, not including all the other stuff you mentioned. So your body's stressed and it's letting you know, and it tampers with our equilibrium as a consequence. And that is not going to subside until we get our stress down and for long enough for the body to recover. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is it does. If you were to get your stress down and keep it down for an extended period of time, not like a month or so, it needs more than that, that dizziness will eventually start to peter out, get less and less and less. Some days you'll have clarity. Some days you might have other things. Now, I want to ask you this question too. Is your dizziness 24/7 or is it periods where you get dizzy?
No, it's 24/7. It's except when I'm driving in a car. I can drive a car fine. Or if I'm laying down, sitting, I still get sometimes the sinking feeling and the floaty feeling when you're sitting sometimes. And but as soon as I get up and walk, it's the swaying, the floating. It's if you feel like you're in a bubble, the sensory overload. My ears do weird things, muffled, and it's just I feel like you're walking on marshmallows, and it's that trying to stay balanced, and stuff. And then on top of trying to do things that you have to do, I have to go to the nursing home a couple of times a week now. They're allowing that, but I did cut down. And, my mom, she cries when I leave. She's 93. And it's just very hard with this to have to keep going and do things. I'm, of course, that's like you're not the person you were. And I don't even know how I'm going to move. How am I going to make this move? I mean, we did pack everything. God only knows how I pushed through that. But that's been terribly stressful. Just the thoughts on what's going to be called on me to do. In my family, a lot of times they don't really understand. That's hard too. I think my husband does, but you know how people react to that. If you look like you're walking normal, I look like I'm walking normal. Because most of the time you're concentrating and you are looking normal. So they don't have no idea. None.
And that's kind of the cross we have to bear, is that people aren't going to understand it unless they go through it. Now, do you get periods where you get waves of more intense dizziness?
Actually, no, but I do get more. It'll scare me more because I'll feel more like I'm being pulled, or those are a little bit more. Those symptoms can be a little bit more heavier. Or like I was in the shower this morning and I got that little tiny spin for a second, the one that kind of freak you out for a second. And I just say, oh, no, well, and I just continued to do what I was doing and tried not to freak out. And I'm not going to jump out. See, I do a lot of exposure therapy too. Like I go to the grocery store stuff. I'm much better about going to stores now than what I was, and just getting out and going in like to the bank and doing things, feeling the way I do, because I can't let the fear, I don't want to become agoraphobic. I have to get out every day. And I'm thinking, is that too much? Is it better sometimes just to sit and relax and crochet? Or is it better to do the therapy every day to get out and expose yourself to things? I'm so confused because they tell you to do that with vestibular therapy, and then like on your site it says to relax, and then on Rocksteady, Joey Remedy, her book and everything, she's big on relaxing the body and accepting, and I can tell you this much: accepting has helped me a lot, but I had to have somebody explain to me what passive acceptance really is. But accepting has helped me. It's caused me to feel a little bit better when I accept that this is what it is. And but I'm confused. I'm confused, and that makes my brain feel more like you're in danger. I'm constantly going down the rabbit hole with all this stuff, and it's just making it worse. It's telling my brain that there's something wrong with me, that you're still looking for something, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not going to go on meds. They want to throw you with the SSRIs and all the meds, and my sister's been on those for years, and she has problems. But
well, with everything you talked about, it's making sense. You have a good understanding of this, and I'm glad you have moved to that passive acceptance, because that stops us from triggering more stress responses on top of an already stressed body. So that can be helpful. But the symptom you're experiencing is caused by a hyperstimulated nervous system that has disrupted the equilibrium system, and that's why your dizziness is there. The only way to turn this around is to get that stress down. That is the only way, because as stress comes down, nervous system activity reduces, our sensory systems return to normal, but that takes time, and way longer than most people think. And so, and with all the stresses you have going on, how do you do that? That's going to be the big question. Well, I would suggest one is finding ways to de-stress wherever you can. Find ways to put things off. Whatever is not vital needs to be put off, because you still have to be looking after your mom, right?
Yeah.
You can't put that off, so that's there, and you still have a move coming up, so you can't put those off. But everything else that you can, put off and swap those activities for rest.
Those are such a biggie,
Yeah, but you have to find a way to cut them down, because your body's not going to perform better if it's keep getting stressed. That's just how it is. So I love the fact that you're containing, not reacting, and those are good things too, but your body needs time to just gear that nervous system down. Essentially, if we could turn off the nervous system for a couple of weeks, we'd be good. But we can't. We need it. So, but that's what it needs.
Something about meditate. I mean, I meditate, but sometimes more the meditation might be listening to music, or just sitting and crocheting and relaxing. And I don't feel any of that hyperstimulation that going through my body. Those adrenaline jolts, you feel. And so I know you said even if you could do that 10 minutes or 20 minutes a day, or just those spaces in between where you can relax the nervous system. But you use your nervous system is going. It's not like you have a broken leg and you can just sit and raise it on a pillow and let it heal. It's just your emotions get in the way of your central nervous system, like going to the nursing home to see my mom. It's very, very emotional. She's declining, and it's. And I'm a very spiritual person, so that makes it really hard too. It's like I don't have any security. I don't have that trust. Is not there with anything. So what do you do when you have to have trust in yourself and trust, in God, and just trust to be able to get well too.
So when you say trust, what do you mean?
Trusting that somebody else, like with God, like trusting that He is in control, and that you're safe and nothing's going to happen, or you're not going to, become debilitated, or, what I'm saying? It's that trust, which I've always had issues with, I guess, from childhood.
Sure. Yeah.
And, my husband, he's spiritual, and he just tell you got to do this, you got to trust God, da, 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 da. And it's like I don't want to say to him, well, you know what? We just went to a funeral a couple of weeks ago of a friend, and he's Christian. People praying for him, and he died.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so where do you go from there? I mean, it's that kind of that. I don't really feel I have any safe foundation. I feel like I'm on shaky ground, and that has a lot to do with the anxiety, and revving up the symptoms too.
Yeah. So regarding the trust, we want to have, I think, a healthy view of what it means to trust God. Does trusting God mean that he's going to protect us from everything? No, that's not what he ever promised. We, as a Christian, we can trust in the fact that our salvation is secure and that the time after this life is going to be joyous. That's the trust we can have. But while we're here, even Jesus said you're going to have tribulation. There's going to be challenges. Christian people do get sick. They do die. They get into car accidents. They lose children. All those things happen. And it's not because God doesn't care for us. It's because he hasn't set the time yet to judge evil. So in the meantime, it's going to be around and we're immersed in it. So our trust should come knowing that, well, whatever God allows or sends into my life, he knows what he's doing, and he knows that the outcome will be to our advantage, if not here, in the afterlife.
No matter what.
No matter
he's
what.
Gone.
Yep, he's got it covered. And, for me, it's been helpful recognizing that this life is temporary. It's going to be short in comparison to eternity. We'll look back at the lessons we learned, but once we're on the other side, we'll say, wow, why did I worry so much about that?
Yeah.
It's not about this life. It's really not. We're exposed to evil here, which we won't ever again once on the other side. So in the meantime, we just can expect whatever. I mean, I know I have Christian friends who always say, well, I just trust God. He's going to look after me forever. And I said, well, Jesus came down as God, and look what happened to him.
Yes.
So, that's why Jesus says we need to pick up our cross and follow him, because there is going to be hardship here. That is just our reality, but it's temporary. And he's got the whole plan figured out. And once we get to the other side, we'll go, oh my gosh, why did I worry so much? When we did the near-death experience videos in the spiritual section, so many people. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So many people come back and they say, I don't worry about a thing anymore, because they've had a glimpse of what the other side looks like, and they come back here with a completely different view of it. And I don't think I've ever seen not one of them say that they're afraid of death when they come back from the other side, because they realize, wow, this is kind of like a dream state. We're kind of here experiencing this thing for such a short time, but we have such a limited view of what our eternity is going to be like. And so we want to hold that in our mind by recognizing, life's going to be tough. We have a limited view, but you know what? It's temporary. We're going to get through it. And as a Christian, we have assurance that we are going to be in the best place ever on the other side. And that's where we can feel trusting. Even if something negative happens to our health, we know that God will get us through it. He's promised to get us through it. He'll give us courage. He'll give us strength. He'll give us determination. I mean, look at Johnny Erickson Tata, for heaven's sakes, how long she has persevered, and the character of faith that she has is remarkable.
I love her,
Yeah, and so we want to take that view that he will send and allow. He does have our best interest in mind, and even though we don't get it right now, we will on the other side. And, that can alleviate a lot of anxiety.
It's just the suffering part that scares me. I'm definitely not afraid of dying. I don't want suffering. I don't want to see family members. Suffering is just such a big word. Suffering.
It is.
When you think. But I wanted to ask you one more question. Since I've had this anxiety so long, since I was a child, and it's really weird because, in the mornings when I wake up with the stomach issues and the nervousness, and that's gotten a little bit better for sure. I think Chris has helped me with all that, but it's the same exact. I feel like I'm 9 years old again, or 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And what I wanted to ask you is since I've had this all my life, since that age, is it so ingrained in my brain that it's going to take longer to go away? Is it positively going to go away? Is it so ingrained in me, the neural pathways, I believe in building new neural pathways. But I'm just thinking, is that so ingrained that is it just never going to go away since I've had it since I was a child?
Yeah. Well, this is where we like to break anxiety into those two pieces. You have the physical side, the symptoms, right? And the symptoms will go away if you get your stress down. It's pretty simple. Reduce stress, your symptoms will go away, period. It works all the time. Now, the second part is, all right, so what about my anxious behaviors? How long is it going to take me to work through those? Well, there's fast ways to do it, and there's things that we have to work at for a while. So we can certainly get rid of our symptoms if we just do the right things and for long enough, absolutely, every time. The behaviors, they can change over the course of time. Yeah, so in terms of behaviors, we don't have to accomplish them all to feel way better. If we go after some of the key things, and there's usually about 3 or 4 really key behaviors that we work on, can make a world of difference. And then we just chip away at the other stuff over the course of time at our leisure. So it's not like we have to get everything solved and we're good. It's we can get little pieces and we'll feel way better over the course of time and then work on the other ones as we choose.
Okay, and be patient with that.
Yeah, so anxious people suck at patience, but we have to be patient because it takes time.
So, okay, so you suggest that with the stress that I have, to go ahead and stay with containment and de-stressing as much as I can in any way that I can, even if it's small, because of the stress I'm going under right now with everything going on.
Yep.
Okay.
And
that's
one key thing I'd just maybe encourage you with here. I struggle with dizziness big time. And it was one of the most uncomfortable symptoms for me. And I never, ever thought it would leave. And I had what you had, but probably 20 times worse. It was dramatic. And
was it 20?
Oh, yeah.
The time you got
24/7 mixed in with powerful waves through those 24/7 periods. It was brutal.
Well, then I have hope. Hey.
Sorry?
Yeah, I have hope because you're okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I've worked with a lot of clients over the years who had dizziness too as their predominant symptom, and it all went away for everybody. And really it is just getting your stress down and giving your body time. Because when the body's allowed to return to normal, it functions normally. It's real simple.
Did you get confused a lot? Like, did doctors tell you that you had this and you had that and vestibular migraines and, PPPD and all that?
Vertigo, yeah. Had the whole mix, yeah.
So did you get confused, like believing the doctors or believing that it was hyperstimulation of the nervous system?
Well, back then I didn't know. It showed up and I had no other resource but the doctors. And so when they recommended everything and have me tried everything and none of it worked, I'm thinking, well, this can't be right. And so I thought, and then once I understood hyperstimulation, how it affects the body and nervous system, equilibrium, I thought, well, you know what? I'll bet you this darn dizziness is related to the same thing. So if I just focus on getting my stress down, and I did a really good job, I have to say, getting my stress down and being patient, this dizziness should leave. No matter how many days I was dizzy, because even I was working at my recovery for 6-7 months, I still had dizziness. All the other ones were starting to tail off, but this one lingered, and I thought, But I said, no, I just need to give my body more time because I still had a few other symptoms. And as my body settled, the dizziness cleared off. And I had, I couldn't stand up fast. I'd be so dizzy. I couldn't bend over to pick anything up. If I couldn't lay down because when I just lift my head, I get huge dizzy spells. I couldn't sit in traffic. There's so many things I couldn't do because of how overly stressed my body was. But as I got my stress down and my body recovered, all of those things slowly faded away and the dizziness just disappeared too. And it's like, wow. Who would have believed that would have been caused just by stress? But we see this time and time again, and I see it over and over and over again. Yeah.
So do you be telling you everything that's going on? Do you think that that's what my issues are? I believe it is because it came on so gradually that it was, if it just came on, that would have been different. Yeah. But I felt it come on with the stress 6 years ago, very, very gradually.
Yep.
Something like balance, funny, or just felt weird.
Yep. So, and the other symptoms too that you mentioned, the walking on a boat, the cushiness, the other things you're talking about, they're so classic for stress. Yeah, I would say that's what's going on here. The challenge for you is going to try to get your stress down long enough for your body to respond to where you see it yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you too. Can you do Skype as much? Like could I come back on when when you have it again, or?
Oh, totally. Yeah, you can come on as often as you like. Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering. Well, I think you've answered everything pretty much for me, Mr. Folk. I appreciate it so much, and you're just a blessing. And your website, I refer to everybody your website because it's just so awesome.
Well, hopefully we have some big changes coming once we get through the symptom side. We're focusing solely on level 2 recovery concepts, and I think that'll be very helpful, especially worry.
Yeah,
worry is such
and Chris is he's really good too at helping. Yeah. But yeah, the worry. Oh yeah, I mean, I understand all that. The worry is the number one. That's it. That's your behavior right there.
Yeah,
worry.
Yeah, that's it. That's our enemy. If we can look at that as an enemy, it's something we don't want to do because it provides no value. See, we've been fooled to think that it does. We've been fooled to think that if I worry enough, I can keep myself out of trouble, and these bad things that happened in my past aren't going to happen. So then we just, look at everything and imagine the worst and try to prevent them all. But other people live wonderful lives, not in danger, without worrying at all. We just have to learn to do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with John Sarno's book, The Divided Mind?
Yep.
Do you, just shortly, because I want to let go, somebody else can talk, but do you believe in all that? The emotions being buried from childhood and coming out in different things like backaches, headaches, dizziness, because your mind is trying to protect you from those emotions.
I don't believe in that part of it. Just like a lot of the new therapeutic techniques, they talk about, trauma being trapped inside the body somewhere and it's trying to get out and it's causing these. I don't believe that. I believe that our trauma in our past certainly affects us cognitively and how we relate to the world. And then that stresses the body. And then we have our symptoms, whichever way the body responds to stress. So, I'm a firm believer that our background does set us up for anxious behavior. No question about it. We see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
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 But as for the rest, I'm not really in agreement with those kinds of things.
Thanks. That makes more sense. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go so other people can get on. I'm sorry I took so long.
Oh, no. Pleasure chatting with you. I'm glad you did.
Thank you so much. And God bless. I've been waiting forever to meet you. So you're like the guru, You need to write a book. You really do.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You got time.
That's right. That's the thing. It's the time. I live a very busy life trying to manage all the small pieces and so but it's a real pleasure to chat with people going through the same thing, and I wish everyone so much Godspeed in terms of healing to get through this, because life is so much different on the other side when we do the work. So
yes, well, thank you. Well, just pray for me. I'm praying for your hip surgery.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'll pray for you.
Right.
Pray for you too. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bet.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.